I'd like to call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for the town of Sevastopol on Monday, July 17th at 7 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Block, would you do the honors roll call to establish a quorum?
Absolutely. Supervisor Mark Hain.
Here.
Supervisor Derek Danielle.
Here.
Chairman Dan Wolfel.
Here.
Supervisor Linda Wade. Here. Supervisor Jeannie Vogel. Here.
Oh, we are good to go. And let's see, who do we have in this evening's audience? Oh, I think I recognize our first participant. Would you introduce yourself?
Unfortunately for you, I'm Jim Beachy, 4159 Bay Shore Drive.
Nice to have you.
Good evening, I'm Hugh Settle, District 14 Supervisor, and also reside at 3986 Glidden Drive.
Cool.
Dale Vocal, Mayor Drive.
Cameron Ely Skwitarski, Destination Sturgeon Bay.
Jeff Lang, 6417 Whitefish Bay Drive.
Jeff Pepper, 6449 Whitefish Bay Drive.
Stephen Hurley, 3985 Bay Shore Drive.
All right, gentlemen, Mr. and editors, audio visual aids.
Derek Demise, Countryview Road. Sorry, there's some audio technical difficulties.
Laddie Chapman, Glidden Drive.
All right, welcome and thanks. Public participation, anyone wishing to speak on non-agenda items, be happy to give you a couple minutes to express anything, almost anything. Yes, sir.
Would you like me to come forward, or is this fine?
No, I think we probably can hear you there if you...
Okay, I'll project. Sorry?
I said that's great.
Okay, so again, Stephen Hurley, 3985 Bay Shore Drive. Live next to a short-term rental. It's 3973 Bay Shore Drive. And I just wanted to voice some concern with that rental. I purchased the property about six and a half years ago, and we built a home and moved in April 4 years ago. In that spring, I had went over to meet the neighbors and quickly learned that they were just my neighbors for a few days, and at that point had learned that it was a vacation rental. I've had numerous concerns over the years and have tried to work it out with the property owners who, one lives in Madison and one lives in Milwaukee area. And it's been not a good experience, to say the least. Some days you'd swear it's a theme park going on over there, and at night you could confuse it with spring break in college. A Tuesday morning at 2 a.m. and there's loud music, fireworks, over occupancy. There's just a number of issues which I have now submitted through host compliance. So I hope there's resolution there. But as I mentioned, I tried to work this out over the years with the property owners and have had no success with that. So I'm just here tonight to inform you of this vacation rental. They have converted it, to my understanding, just prior to July 1st to an LLC and done their renewal. It's now the 17th of July. I haven't gotten any information as far as contact info, property rules, or their DATCAP license number, or any other required information. My home's 80 feet from theirs. It's well within the 400 feet. There's just numerous things to discuss, but as I said, I've tried to speak with them, work with them, inform them of these issues that I'm having, and there's been no resolution. So I trust that the ordinance will be adhered to and enforced by the board in the town of Sevastopol, and I'm just asking for your help with that this evening. So thank you, and thank you for your service on the board.
Well, thank you. Just one question from my end. You mentioned post-compliance. When was the first time that you called that service? And
it was in June sometime. And
first time this year?
Yeah, this year, yeah.
So even though you've had it as a neighbor for a number of years, the first time you actually called to record incidents this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because as I said, I tried to work it out with the property owners, be civil about it. It's a residential area, it should be that way, and like I said, sometimes you swear it's a resort. I purchased the property in a residential area to have that atmosphere. If I was buying a property next to Stone Harbor, I would be full aware that there's probably going to be a lot of traffic, evening events, that sort of thing. I'll also mention the property, I believe, has 3 bedrooms. It was a cottage with 2 bedrooms and converted with additions, has 3 bedrooms, and they rent it to 12 people. I'll be honest, when a family of 4 shows up, maybe with their grandparents, it's totally fine. But you get 3 families that show up, and all of a sudden, nobody's watching the kids, and it's Animal House.
I don't have an answer for you other than to say that post compliance has to be the first vehicle. And the
Yep.
second one is that regardless of what, short-term or otherwise, if you have a disturbance next door at 2 o'clock in the morning, pick up the phone and call the sheriff. You don't want to identify yourself, you can do it anonymously. We'll take into account issues that are raised through similar issues like yours at renewal time. Unfortunately, we're out of sync with that at the present time, so we'll just investigate it a little further and see what we might come up with.
Okay.
Did you have any comments, Linda, that you wanted to make relative to that?
Just to, in the past, we've always encouraged neighbors or anyone in the neighborhood who has a concern to please document that, because otherwise we don't know what's going on.
Right.
And if there are repeat violations and non-compliance with the ordinance, that's the only way we're going to know. Because when you do register a concern, I believe Amy is made aware, our clerk is made aware, and a letter will be generated to go to that property owner.
Okay.
And obviously, if there are multiple violations over the year or years, and in violation of our ordinance, we would definitely take action. So,
As we will with the notification, Amy will follow through on that as well.
Okay.
So, and then, that's been an issue with a number of short-term rentals, so if there's anyone out there that is adjacent to a short-term rental and hasn't received notification, please call the office and let us know. This year we expanded the area from 200 feet to 400 feet. I know I've talked to some people that have had it, some people that haven't. So if there's a similar issue, pick up the phone, call the town clerk, and we'll follow through on that. So, okay, thank you for commenting. Anyone else desiring to speak? Jim, no? Okay, all right, we're going to move on.
Mr. Mayor?
All right, we're going to go on, let's see. How about we adopt the agenda? I assume first that we have had it properly noticed as usual.
The agenda was properly noticed.
All right, a motion to adopt would be in order.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion by Mark, second by
I'll second.
Jeannie to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're good to go. You have a copy in the packet of the approval, of the Board of Supervisors meeting from June 19th, and we would need to put a motion to put those on file. I think that is those are the only minutes that we have, yes. So,
I'll move to accept and place those minutes on file, but I would just suggest that on page 1, lines 24 and 25, if we could include the dates of that initial board of review and also the road tour, just for future reference, so that I don't have to go back to my calendar. Thank you, Amy.
okay, motion from Linda, second by
I'll second.
Jeannie to approve the minutes from the Board of Supervisors meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. First item is the audio-visual update. We're going to give Jeannie an opportunity to tell us how that all has proceeded and where we stand. So, Jeannie?
Well, the board has a copy of, it's the audio-video workflow schematic. We kind of, the committee used that to ask Phil Henriksen to explain what all the different equipment does and how it would serve us. And so he did go through all of it. He answered our questions. Laddie had some input. And so the committee, within that input, there was in addition to the quote of $7,565, there was a discussion about possibly Laddie needing a rack of a certain kind that might be in the neighborhood of $1,000. So, and then maybe some electrical things. So what we did was vote for a not to exceed number of $8,700. We have over $13,000 and that's been
Budgeted in that category.
budgeted. So.
Okay. And so what's attached here is the actual equipment.
Right.
All right.
The list of the equipment is also what you are looking at, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Not that I'm an expert on AV.
Anything you'd like to express, Laddie or Derek? Good to go?
It looks like this might be our best choice. We looked at other estimates that were much more expensive, and I'm not sure they would have been any better.
Okay, well, that's fine with me. I know you've had multiple vendors in and talked with them, but I just give you an opportunity. Anyone from the board have questions?
Did the committee come to a consensus as to what was the best course for those, users of this town hall, that they would have access to the audio and speakers? Did you
That was one of our main expressions to him was, we want to make sure that the public, when the public's in here and wants to use the room, that they can use the audio system. So it looks like, and nothing's written in stone exactly how it's going to be, but right now the idea is to have kind of a rack over this area, and with the one mixer, I think it is, correct me if I'm wrong on using the right words, Laddie, so that the public could actually just hit a switch and they would be able to use it. That's what we wanted, and that's what it's going to be.
So this was the iPad piece? Am I thinking along that same line?
No, the iPad is for the control of the fellas
So
over there.
the rack does not require them to have access behind?
No, they won't need the iPad situation. That'll be something that Laddie and Derek will be using. But we wanted to make it as simple as possible, and as simple as possible was to just put something there that could the switch can be flipped and...
So they'll have access without having to have all of this open? Is that okay? That's what it's... All right. I know that you guys have went through it a couple different times. I saw all the different quotes and attended one of the meetings, so if you're good, I'm good.
We are.
Any other questions from the board?
Does that include a rack for Laddie and Derek then, so that they don't have to set all that up for every meeting, that they could just pull it out of the audio-visual room and then wriggle it back in without all of that?
The fine details are going to be worked out, but because the chairman may have a difference of opinion on if that room back there is going to be put to use for more of the equipment, Laddie might have a different thought on that. So there's going to be a little more discussion probably as to how it's all going to work out. But I think Laddie was actually looking for something. Weren't you looking for something more in the room so you tell me what.
Well, I think we're confusing several different things, but I'd like to answer Linda's concern about other groups coming in. And this system was intended so that someone could come in and use the system with minimal setup. They'd all do is press a button, pretty much. But for us, we'd like to have a little more control over individual mics, and that would provide that also.
I think what she's asking, Laddie, is...
The rack situation.
The rack situation. So in theory, we will have most of that equipment sitting in a rack in the back room and an access plate and just a limited pieces of equipment.
No, most of this equipment would have to still be here if we want the same functionality with the video production. It would be a lot easier for us, and we'd have a few fewer tables, but it wouldn't eliminate the whole desk. We still need a desk of some kind here.
I was just thinking of convenience for you and Derek,
It would
as
be
far
much-
as setup
It
goes.
would be much more flexible and much more convenient for us. And it would sound better for you guys and everybody in the audience. And at home and the station.
The goal was to have flexibility, but there's still some discussion points, I think, so.
What's their timeline?
I thought you asked me that. I didn't establish one yet because it was we requested that he check into one other mixer with a 30-channel situation rather than the other two that were there. So I will follow up with him, but I wanted to put this before the board before I did that.
All right. Anyone else?
I got one question. Would it make sense to get like a rolling desk?
Well,
That they could put all that stuff on
that-
and just plug
that's-
one thing in?
Yeah, that's one of the things that was, I thought that they were looking at doing and wanting that, because I've been talked to, they've talked, the fellows have talked to me about it, and I thought they wanted something to roll in and out. So that was something we talked about, but as it turns out, that's not exactly what they were looking for. And Laddie maybe can speak.
Yeah, Mark, one problem is that I use this equipment for other applications outside of this town hall. And therefore, I couldn't leave it here all the time, even if you did roll it into the other room. If the town were to buy same kind of equipment, or better yet, have fixed cameras in the ceiling, which we would hope to do someday in the future, then a lot of it could be fixed. And it would be a lot easier for me to set up. I wouldn't have to come in and spend 2 hours plugging in things in advance.
So
Well,
as an independent contractor, which is what Laddie is, a lot of the equipment he has there is owned by him. So that's part of I think, the challenge of moving things. And as he says, he does take some things back to his residence and use it for other things and that sort of thing. So, that's,
Well, I
so
was
we
thinking-
have things to work out with how.
I was thinking more along the lines of getting something like this, that you can have one cord, plug it in to power, and then have spots where you can plug all your HDMIs and all the cords in. You set your equipment on to use that night. Wouldn't that simplify your setup?
It would be wonderful to do that. That's like stage 2 of this upgrade.
Okay.
Well,
Weren't we talking about some kind of plug right behind you, though, into
yeah,
the wall? So
this
there's stuff
quote-
that's going in.
This quote would include a plug which would make it a little easier to connect to this PA
Right.
system. And it would reduce the cables a little bit, not a lot. But it's a step in the right direction, yes. Eventually, if we have cameras mounted on the ceiling, then they would feed into that same wall plate. 4 cameras, perhaps 3 or 4. And that would make things a lot easier. First of all, the cameras would be here mounted permanently, not on tripods like these. So there'd be less setup time.
And ultimately, though, with the goal of being portable and being able to move stuff in and out, with this quote on there, like for example, the 16-channel digital mixer or like the 31 that we're investigating them still, the fact is, once we get that part, that would probably be one of those that would be on the cart, because essentially that one can be more portable, and that would take care of one of these items on this table. That essentially some of these items are mainly Laddie's, and we're eventually buying stuff that's more permanent for this town hall to get the production more here, per se. So we don't have to keep moving things back and forth. So it's slowly just trying to acquire the appropriate equipment so that we can essentially split what is Laddie's and what is the town's and make it more of professional production as well.
Sure. Acronyms. BEADNOFO is on page 5 or 6 of this handout.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at page 6 of the handout that we just received.
Oh, that's for
BEADNOFO.
that's for broadband. That's broadband.
Oh, are we talking?
We're talking about audio.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Same committee, different
Yeah.
subject.
Different, the same chairperson, different subject.
Yep.
That's correct. We're good.
All right. Anyone else? All right, so assuming that this recommendation is a solid one, then what we would need to do is have a motion to approve it so they could move ahead.
I'll make a motion to
Oh, that would be a
approve,
good idea.
to approve the audio equipment not to exceed $8,700.
All right. We have a motion by Jeannie reluctantly, but she did make the motion to approve the bids for the upgrade of our audio equipment. Do I have a second? I'm sorry, Derek? All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, hopefully we're done with that one for a while. It's been a reoccurring topic. All right, this is a little bit, the next topic is a little bit of a rehash or expansion of last month's, which is our attorney is telling us that we need to take specific action by name, empowering the town clerk to send cease and desist orders and/or to issue fines for nuisance ordinance violations. And so we have included in this month just a rehash of the same document you saw last month, which is basically what I just mentioned. And we have to enable her specifically to deal with the Rushi and Brandt properties. And all we have to do is give her the direction that she can take the necessary steps, either through a cease and desist letter or a fine as appropriate. Any questions with respect to that? I guess we're going to have to do this with each one that we identify over time. So I thought we could do it more of a general, but it's not acceptable. So, questions from anyone? No? Then all we need to do is a motion enabling her to do that by naming those specifics.
Okay, I'll move that we proceed with notices to cease and desist to the two properties that we discussed, the Rushi property on Cherry Road and the Brandt property on Highway 42, per our ordinance number 012011 nuisance.
And we want to include in there her ability to issue citations as appropriate.
Again, following the ordinance, yes, to issue and serve citations for violations as she deems warranted.
And that would really be determined by the board, just so everyone's on the same page. Okay, so we have a motion by Linda, second by? Second by Mark. Any further discussion?
Do I need to state that the town board determines that public nuisance does exist and we proceed
I
per our
added,
ordinance?
you probably need to say it, I said it, but that's fine.
All right.
Amy, you've captured that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Otherwise, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have notification out already on one of those two properties. We've noticed no change, so the next step will be issuance of a citation, and the other one's in the beginning stages. So covers both of those. All right, I asked Amy also to give us a little update on the short-term rentals, where she stands with the permits, issues, opportunities, et cetera. Amy, would you like to deal with that for a couple minutes?
Sure. So as of July 7th, the town has permitted 80 short-term rentals, with all of the grandfathered rentals licensed. With the short-term rental resolution, it indicated a late fee which was imposed to the grandfathered short-term rentals that did not have their paperwork in by July 1st. This is something that possibly needs to be looked at and refined to add a timeline, because right now it is an open-ended thing. As a comparative to last year, there were 65 short-term rentals, but we need to take into consideration that places like Little Harbor Cottage and the Chanticleer Guest House were considered as one last year. This year, we counted each individual cottage or house as one. So, Little Harbor Cottages last year had one. This year, they have 3. So that definitely determines a larger number this year. We also had 8 new ones that came in that were now considered grandfathered in, and they got in before that July 1st date. So that's pretty much the update.
Okay, thank you. The piece that Amy mentioned is we will bring that back in the fall, get a couple minutes and just update it. I'll probably give it back to your committee. Because we have no timeline, and in theory, we could have been in December and somebody could have walked in and paid the fee and been grandfathered, and we want to eliminate that loophole, as we do every year, refine things a little more.
Could I add something to
Sure.
that too? I think, as Mr. Hurley mentioned too, I think there's some discrepancies among what the POUDS, the private on-site wastewater treatment system permit states, and also what the DATCAP permit states, and also what is advertising online as to number of bedrooms and sleeping how many. So I think that warrants a healthy discussion, and I think Mr. Zettel can chime in too, because he did a lot of research when we were working on this ordinance. Our ordinance says 2 occupants per bedroom, or the DATCAP license permit, whichever is less. I know that we had asked DATCAP a while back for a response on occupancy, and I'm not sure we ever got a response on bedroom spaces, because it's supposed to be like 400 cubic feet and all that. So I think that would warrant some discussion and perhaps tweaking our ordinance once again so that we're all on the same page when it comes to sleeping rooms and compliance as to sleeping rooms with smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, ingress and egress, and again, the space requirements. So.
Okay, we'll let you tackle that in the fall and bring it back to the board. So, okay, good. Thanks, Amy and Linda. Next item is Destination Sturgeon Bay, the quarterly update, and Cameron is here to tell us about her efforts on our town's behalf.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I put together some talking points just to go over a few updates since I was here at our last visit.
Thank you.
But the first thing I wanted to chat about was the events updates. So since we last chatted, the dairy breakfast happened on July 2nd. So we did work with Mary Gilbert and, thank you. And she supplied Destination Sturgeon Bay with the 42nd annual dairy breakfast posters, which we distributed at our Welcome Center. And we also assisted in promotion on social media and Facebook with the sharing of that event that took place just a couple of weeks back. So what we've got coming up in August, the 18th through the 20th, is the 40th annual Valmy Threshery. And we've been working with Becky Gazer to promote that, and they've got a full marketing committee that is working on promoting that. So they've already put together a press release that we've gotten and are going to be distributing. And we're also going to be partnering them with for promotion. They put together a poster, so we've got that handout already available at our Welcome Center. And we'll also be partnering with them to do a few extra Let's Go Door County promotional videos, really to spread the message on Facebook. So we're looking forward and excited about that. For the threshery, one of the big things that the committee would like to focus on is really honing in on the 40th annual. So that will be the big messaging and push for the Valmy threshery. So another big update from the Destination Sturgeon Bay office is, if you haven't checked it out, we did launch a new website last month on sturgeonbay.net. So it looks a little bit different and it is a lot more user-friendly, but a lot more easy to navigate for folks visiting the site and on the back end. We've added a new blog section for featured posts, so we're really excited to expand that section out. And we've also added and updated a lot of imagery, which is really exciting. So again, sturgeonbay.net, feel free to check that out. And even though it was very weird to type this out, but we're heavy into planning for the 2024 activity guide. And I know that when I chatted with the board last time, that was a big focus that we'd like to include and promote Sevastopol more. So definitely don't need an answer now, but if the board would like to think about, you can always send it to me via email too. But just some points of interest or things Sevastopol would like to highlight. So we're in the midst right now of scheduling some photo shoots. So if the board would like us to focus on specific areas or points of attraction, we have photo shoots scheduled already at Glidden Lodge and Westwood Shores, so dining member and a lodging member. But other points of interest or things to highlight, some of the things I thought about, we've got some really great imagery already of Cave Point, but maybe of the new pickleball courts or something like that to incorporate, something that we might not have in our data library that could bolster some of that. And we are going to be making quite a few changes to the layout and flow, and the first draft will be prepared in October, so that should be pretty timely. And at my next quarterly update, I'd like to come share with the board what we've put together and share that draft so we can review that all together if that's what the board would like. Just so you can kind of see what we're thinking about, kind of the design and layout. And the time frame is the first draft will be prepared in October, and we'll be looking to put the following draft together at the beginning of November with sending to print at the end of December. So that we'll have guides in our hands by January 2024. And then finally, just a couple of other upcoming and ongoing events. We are in the midst of our 2023 Farmers Market season. That's a 20-week season that runs from June to mid-October. We've got the Sail Through the Avenue Sidewalk Sale coming up next week, next Thursday, July 27th. And then Maritime Weekend, we partner with the Door County Maritime Museum to promote that the first weekend in August. So those are kind of the big things that we've got on the docket. Does the board have any questions or anything that I can answer at this time?
Yeah, Carmen, I'd like to mention to you the garden door. I happen to be a master gardener, and so that's a place that's close to my heart.
Yeah.
But it's also a wonderful attraction for the visiting, not only our local people, but for visitors. And we're located at the Peninsula Research Station, which you're probably aware of. There's obviously, it's a lovely place, so great picture opportunities.
Yeah.
Photo opportunities, and so I'd like to mention that as being something to promote.
And even your plant sale.
We also have a
Specifically.
plant sale every year, yeah,
Okay,
and normally it's the first weekend in June, so you probably I need to probably direct you to somebody on the board. I'm no longer on the board, so.
If you could actually share that connection with me, that would be great, because we were just going through old materials in our brochure room, and we haven't received updated information from Garden Door since 2019. So I'm sure there's probably some new stuff out there, but if you could connect me with the point of contact for that, that would be wonderful.
I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
I'll put you on the October agenda so you can bring a draft. We'll have Ms. Flock will handle that for us instantly.
Absolutely.
So
That'd be nice. It'd be something we can even pull up on the screen.
That would be-
We'll have That, it should be prepared by then. It's a 66-page guide, so we we're actually started working on it already, but I will make sure that we at least have that section prepared so we can review at that time, for sure.
That would be terrific. As I understand it too, I think I may have mentioned how often I find Cape Point belonging to Jacksonport. And, you know, we kind of bring that up periodically, but most recently I was told that the FFA dairy breakfast promotion, when you clicked on it on the webpage, it took you to the Jacksonport Business Association.
Okay.
Which kind of is going to be my second, you know, thing to harp on after Cave Point. I don't think that it should be linked to the Jacksonport Business Association. So maybe you could take a look at that and tweak that. Or the dunes.
The dunes, yep.
Yeah. Well, the dunes is going to be going to Nassauwappie. That's their next. It's going to make a monumental move, you know.
Another thought I had would be maybe the farm to drive home the family friendliness. I thought that would also, because we get a lot of families that come through the Welcome Center, and that was one of my thoughts, that it would be really nice to maybe have some imagery too at the farm as well.
No, I think that's another great ad. So, does anyone else from the board have any questions or comments?
Hugh, do you have something?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, aren't there a lot of sports activities that are scheduled on the diamonds that you might have a year lead time when a lot of those tournaments are scheduled year in, year out?
I have to.
Yeah, it's always, we got that date pegged for as long as we're gonna have,
There could be other ads as well.
So that could be included, yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Hugh.
Feel free to give Amy a list and we'll turn
That'd
it
be
in.
great.
You know,
And
just so-
anything too, with our new website launch, any local events that are taking place in Sevastopol, you can share calendars with us, and our team will definitely make sure that those are added onto the website as well.
Perfect.
Okay, great. No other comments? Thank you for coming, and we'll see you in October with a draft.
That sounds
We will look
good.
forward to that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Next, we have Ashley, who's going to give us a little update on our Sevastopol EMRs. You want to swing the microphone over to your right, or?
So, to date, we have had 157 calls for Sevastopol. That is up from 104 to date last year at this time. So we're up over 50 calls. We have only had 56 of those that have been unanswered, and that's from January 1. Sounds like a big number, but 101 of those have had responders, so that is 64.3% response, which is up from 49.6% in all of 2022. The majority of the unanswered calls continue to be near the city limits. Simply, we don't have anybody that can get there before an ambulance is there and gone. The county does have, when they're above minimum staffing, they'll have additional responder that'll respond to the ambulance. Sometimes our captains will go as well if additional assistance is needed for lifting or anything. And then Surgeon Bay Fire also has been called in if we need like lifting assistance or something on the call.
Okay.
We have 2 members who are interested in joining. One of them just got all of their renewal and everything up to date at the end of June.
How many do we have currently, Ashley?
I believe 18, with the 2 retired.
Okay.
So one of them has been an EMR before, not with Sevastopol, but had lapsed in some of her licensing, but with the renewal period, she's back up to date. And then the other one is currently taking a class to become an EMR. And they had just reached out to me the other day, so both of those members would have to go through the interview process yet. Amy, I believe, printed off a revision of the bylaws and where we're at with those. Anything in blue is things that we'd like to change or add. Anything striked out in red is obviously things we would like to get rid of. And then, as you can see throughout, I changed first responder to EMR, as that's technically how we're acknowledged now. I obviously am not expecting any action on that tonight, as you're gonna need some time to review it, but
Derek, have you been through this as yet?
I looked at it briefly this morning, but there will be some edits made for it, just to go a little bit more in depth on hiring process, committee assignments, that kind of thing.
All right. So when you get this finalized, we'll have you hop back and
I'll reshare it.
Okay. All right, well, that's good. I'm glad you're making progress on it. That's a step forward from where we were, so thank you for that.
and then I will not be here for the next quarterly update. That will probably be Kurt, because I will be on maternity leave.
Okay.
You want to zoom in?
Probably not.
No. All right. Your choice. All right. Well, not a problem. We can work through Derek and Kirk. Any comments from anyone on the board?
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so the Door County Fire Chiefs Association and the Door County Baseball League, they're all making efforts to get AEDs at the baseball fields, at the fire stations. Where are we sitting with our AEDs?
We did receive one from the grant. That grant will only provide AEDs to like new members that don't have any. It doesn't provide if they're expired, outdated, there's a problem with them, it doesn't provide for that. It's only if we have a new member, and we have to be able to provide them saying like, yes, we had a new member join, we need an AED. So I had applied for one for a member that didn't have one. We did receive that, and that's been given to that member. So there will likely be another application once, if we approve these other two members as well.
But the AEDs that you're using are all current
they're all
and
up to
not,
date. They've had-
batteries are good and pads are good and
Yep, they
everything
had
like that?
recent-
You don't plan to replace them anytime soon?
Not
Okay,
in the near future.
okay, thank you.
Did, and then maybe Linda, you remember this, did John Stavinus at one point in time do some type of training at the town hall? I just vaguely remember some kind of resuscitation or, because I mean, we have one.
I don't know if it was Tim Flieger or something.
Tim Flinger does CPR.
Yeah.
Right. And,
I've taken his twice.
NWTC offers it. Obviously, if you work at the
So
Y, you
Sister
have
Bay
to
Liberty
take
Grove
it,
Fire
yeah.
Department actually has a program that they've been running for a few years now. And they'll provide community CPR, as well as healthcare provider CPR. So we actually had, one of the businesses, Glidden Lodge, I believe, had reached out to me. They were looking for some instruction for their employees. And I referred to them, and they will come right to you if you have enough
Nice.
people.
Right.
Otherwise, they have a list of classes that they'll offer throughout the year as well.
Where did we mount that at the park? Is that
On the south side of the
South side of the
concession
concession
stand.
stand? And that's been there for, what, a couple months?
Yeah, most of the summer.
So,
Well, it was there before the ball game started.
so we've had no problems with it?
Nope.
What does the school do, which, since they were the main driving force, have they got their people up to speed on how to use something like that?
I honestly don't know. I don't know if they get trained, because that's what we did with concession stand. We had to get it, we had to have people trained. That we had the meeting or the training in here with Tim Flieger.
I thought it was, I was, maybe John
Maybe
orchestrated it with
before
Tim.
stop.
Yeah, I don't
Before
recall.
Tim.
Okay. Well, maybe we ought to ask them if they've had any of their coaches, and maybe they've taken care of all
And
that.
I applied for an AED throw over there when they
Right.
were doing that. And then they reached out to me and said that Sevastopol had gotten one for us, so.
Okay. All right, great. Anything else, Ashley?
I don't believe so.
Anything from the board? Well, thank you. We'll miss you, but we'll put you back on the calendar after that event. How's that?
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
All right. Good to go. Mark, since you're on a roll, why don't you bring us up to speed on...
How deep would you like me to go into this?
Well, I'm
If you want
going
me
to
to
guess
bring you up
that...
to speed, you're gonna cry.
Pardon me?
If you want me to bring you up to speed, you're gonna cry.
Well, I
because
think
right-
you need to...
As of right now, we can do a notebook and someone drawing numbers on it. so.
Yeah. Well, how about an overview that brings the audience that might want to contribute up to speed?
Everybody should contribute. Please and thank you. So we're doing a scoreboard fundraiser over at the park, between the park committee and the the Sevastopol Athletic Committee. And our goal is to raise $30,000. We'd like to replace the north softball field scoreboard and the baseball field. You can go on our website, and it has a link. Amy's got a link on there that shows you the pictures. And we have different donor levels. You get your name. If you donate enough, you get your name on the bottom of the scoreboard like we have now. Businesses, if you own personal one, just your name on there. Go ahead, let's do it. The scoreboards are over 30 years old. They're showing their wear. The one in the north field, when the sun beats on it, it's hard to see. All the games are played in the afternoon. The high school season especially, it's very hard to see the numbers. I updated those with all new LED bulbs, and that old equipment does not like the LED bulbs. They flash and they blink, and it's time. I've painted those boards in the past many times just to clean them up, and it's time to do something different. We're trying to do the donations so that we can focus our other funds on other projects that we've been doing with the school. So we're trying to alleviate some of the strain on our budget by getting these donations.
Excuse me, Mark, could you tell me what the address is? We can bring it up and grab it on
You have it, Derek?
About the parks site.
Town website.
Go to the town website.
And scroll down to letter donation. There you go.
Right now we have the donation up and running, and it's open for another 55 days, so we might have to extend it a little bit. We'll see how it all pans out. It's been a very slow start, unfortunately. I think what we're gonna have to do is kind of beat the bushes and talk to some more of the bigger businesses around. You don't have to be from Sevastopol, only Sevastopol residents and businesses. Please, come one, come all. Let me see what I got on my list here. That's about all I have.
Mark,
So,
Have you, can I,
Yeah, go ahead.
have you reached out to, what's it called, Raybrook?
I'm sure the school will.
that's gonna
That's
be our
something to school.
end result if we can't get enough donations.
You also have to have a donation match with them.
Yeah, we will look for other grants and funds.
Yeah.
The other thing with these scoreboards, the safety thing is a big thing with baseball pitching. So you can only have so many pitches per game. So the new scoreboards will have a pitch count for each pitcher. So that's a really big item right now is in the spring, these kids, cold arms, they can't throw 180 pitches like they used to do. So that's another aspect that we don't have on our old scoreboards that we want to add to these newer scoreboards. Linda, did you have?
I was just going to say that, they have on WDOR talk show, they have the school, so the administrator and I think the vice principal was on the air, and they went into depth about that they were seeking donations, that it was a joint effort between the town and the school, so donations were certainly welcomed. So.
Very welcome. Any other questions from the board or peanut gallery? Dan, do you have any?
No, thank you, Mark, for doing that. And I will just tag on to Mark's comments with one additional thing. The town is also at the present time going to undertake a remodel, rebuild, rehash, whatever you'd like to use of the restrooms at the park, which are also in dire straits. So that's on our priority list, and eventually we will achieve that goal as well. The park's a very nice property used by a lot of people, and the restrooms are in dire states. So if you feel the urge, Mr. and Mrs. Kress. All right, enough, thank you. Broadband update. Jeannie, why don't you give us an update with respect to that?
Okay, so the committee met on the 28th, I think it was, and we have issued an updated, thank you, Hugh, an updated RFP to AT&T, Bertram Charter, and Frontier and Ensight. The request for proposal is due July 24th. However, there is one ISP, internet service provider, when I say ISP. There's one internet service provider that because we were able to get update on the geolocations, in other words, the addresses. So it moved from the previous one of a number of 2165 to 2184. And then we also wanted to look at looks like what will be developed at the quarry site. It seems like there would be about 30 lots, possibly duplexes, so maybe a number of 60. So we'd add another 60 to that. So those numbers were sent after the request for proposal was sent out. So one of the internet service providers has asked for an extension. So I did go ahead and offer that provider till the 31st, which won't conflict with our timeline of our meeting when the committee will analyze, which you have as a schedule, which I also sent you by email earlier, a schedule of the whole process. So I think, and to answer your question earlier, BEAD means the broadband equity access and deployment. That's what the acronym stands for.
County board update, Linda.
Yeah.
Deployment?
Deployment.
Access and deployment? Okay.
Broadband equity access and deployment.
We have a tentative date for a new public hearing. What is that date, Jeannie?
I believe that was, I have to look at my,
It's August something, I think.
it was August 23rd, is I right?
August 23rd, yes,
Yeah.
6 p.m.
Yeah, 6 p.m.
So we will take a second effort. Obviously, this broadband will be funded completely different than the original effort with Bud Tussle. So we will cover all of that at another meeting.
Yep.
So anything else, Jeannie?
No.
Any questions from the board? Okay, sounds good. So moving on, we have in your packet, you have the budget versus actual. And I need to stop for a minute here and recognize the efforts of our clerk treasurer. On the income side of our budget versus actual, she is up 1,200% of her dog license income. Now, it's not easy to achieve that, but she's managed to knock the cover right off that ball. She's also done a great job with interest. We're 715% of interest earned, which, considering we had zero for many years, it's a pleasant number. On the flip side, if you haven't looked at it, we're also over our snow removal budget by $27,000, and I don't think dog licenses are going to cover.
But we're really not. Remember, there was 40,000.
Oh, that's right.
We're really not.
You're
That's
going to
a
get
fake
it
number.
recalculated. All right. I should tell you, though, that the tree trimming budget is over, and it's not going to be recalculated. The tree trimming around the town and the ash trees are killing us. But anyway, with that said, so you have the budget versus actual transaction list by date, and I think that's everything there, except the treasurer's going to share, now she switches hats, share her data.
Yes,
Amy?
we received the fire dues payment for 2023. For the STR license income, we are above budget by $1,300. Currently, in our interest earned category, we are above budget by $18,470. And the second half of taxes is due by July 31st.
Okay, good. Any questions? If not, a motion to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I keep looking at the interest. Now, I know we're way above our budgeted interest, but, our designated money mark where we have like $500,000 and we're only earning 2.5, as opposed to the 5 point something that we're earning in the government pool, would it be worth our while to reach out to somebody at Nicolay? And I think we can still have a money market, but I think it has a different title where it's paying at least 5.
I can
Can
try.
Didn't you and I talk about this, Amy? I'm sorry.
We
You're
have
talking
talked about it.
Right, in our designated funds.
Right.
Which we have 500,000,
Right.
and it's currently 2.5, right?
Correct. It's half of what the
And
LGIP
I'm
is.
pretty sure for a balance of that size,
Yeah.
we can get a higher interest rate.
I sure think so.
We should be able to. If not, we could move some of that to the LGIP
Right.
and capitalize on what it is.
Yeah.
Double our interest.
I don't have any problem doing that as long as everyone's on board with that.
It'd probably be worth a while to, someone at Nicolay.
I've done that
I'm sure
before.
they would work with us.
I can make that phone call too. So, okay, good. Financial reports, a motion to accept and put on file.
I'll move to accept the financial reports.
Motion by Linda, second by
Second.
by Jeannie to approve the financial reports. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, good. Approval of vouchers, bills, and claims, June 20th through July 19th. Everybody took a look at those. Anyone have any questions? Hearing none, motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims, June 20th, 2023 through July 19th, 2023.
We have a motion by Mark, second by
Second.
Derek to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Good. Thank you. In the oral committee commission reports, we have a copy of the Communications Technology Committee meeting from June 28th. Does anyone, I think we've covered everybody, but does anyone have anything they'd like to add verbally?
Just a note that also in attendance, although Hugh Zettel is often at the meetings, he was not at this one. And Amy knows that and has reflected that.
Oh, so we're scratching them off?
We're scratching you.
I'm sure
Sorry,
he was
Hugh.
there in spirit.
I was
Yeah, he
gonna say
was.
the same thing.
He's
You
always
know.
there.
Put an
You're just
asterisk,
thinking about the meeting.
put an asterisk there, in spirit. Okay, good to go. All right. County Board Report, District 14 Supervisor, Mr. Zettel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This should be a kind of a brief update. This is the shortest county board meeting I've been in attendance in my short tenure. It lasted less than an hour.
Wow.
Which was incredible. You know, it's kind of a quiet, summer before things pick up in late August, September. We're working on budgets. So I think there's really two items of interest that I'd like to speak to the board about, give them an update. One is at this meeting, the county board fully funded the incremental work to do a right turn only lane from Gordon Road to head southbound on 4257. So the balance of the funds that were needed because of some of the other state requirements of 154,000-ish and change, which gives it a little north of 250 grand to get that work done. Basically to do a right turn only going south, so you only can turn south. In addition to that, the state required they have an acceleration lane, I believe of around 300 feet that needed to be added. And in addition to that, because of the additional traffic that the highway commissioner expects for people to go back to Egg Harbor Road to do the roundabout, there's some work at the corners of Old Highway Road and Gordon Road that they're going to do that's included in this budget, as well as some radius work at the intersection of Old Highway Road and Egg Harbor Road. And included in that, because there will be people turning left from Egg Harbor Road to go onto Old Highway Road potentially. If you're familiar with that area, you know that the passing lane on the right-hand side has got some monstrous potholes. So included in this budget is to redo that shoulder lane there to improve that for the traffic. That shoulder work can be done at any time at the board meeting. The highway commissioner is working through trying to get the work done at the Gordon Road intersection. In the summertime, the state has a rule where counties can't do work in the summer season between 4th of July and Labor Day. He's got the support of the regional DOT in Green Bay that the work should proceed, just given the danger of that intersection and the fact that a lot of the work they can do really isn't going to be prohibitive to managing traffic. So they have some meetings this week with the DOT representatives in Madison to get closure on that. So hopefully we'll have some good news from the highway commissioner that they can actually get that work done. Once they get that done, that'll finalize their permit. And once they have their permit in hand, they'll be able to start the work that's not on Gordon Road and at that intersection that I described, the shoulder work, the passing or the shoulder passing lane. That will be scheduled to be done this summer, so they don't have to wait for that. So good news that we'll have that work done and hopefully reduce basically 50% potentially of the accidents from people trying to turn left when and going northbound when they should be.
Well, there's also a new bank going right on that corner, right behind that radius that they're gonna change. There's a bank. They ought to see if they would like to pay for part of that access road, because they'll be coming in off of Old Highway to get in there. So, and there was an accident on Gordon. Was it going north or south?
He was turning north off of Gordon.
So another
Again.
pedestrian yesterday?
That was this weekend, I think.
Yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yesterday.
So that's on the way. So I think our journey to get that done last year has finally paid off. So I look forward.
That's
to
great.
that being
You
done.
really took the ball and ran with that one, so thank you much.
You're welcome. I appreciate the town's support when we need to get that at the hearing. So thank you. Good team effort. Just the second item is just an update regarding the town board voted unanimously for both the report for the zoning map amendment and the actual ordinance change for rezoning the Geithner property, consistent with what was recommended from both the Plan Commission and what was voted unanimously by this board. So that went through as well. And we also provided some additional information. They asked about, why not zone the entire property as well? And I just relayed some information just because I'm on the Plan Commission. We know everything in that corridor is getting scrutinized from a traffic perspective, and just provided some additional insights relative to current, the rezoning that was done across the street with the Muscat property. Yep. That owner lost entrances to the highway, as we all know. And then we know that any future development is also going to, the DOT is scrutinizing, minimizing any entrances and actually losing them. So I think that additional feedback relative to the sensitivity of traffic on there, and especially in light of us doing the funding for Gordon Road, gave them additional understanding with what the board's actions were. So with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Anyone?
All right, thank you,
I
Mr.
guess we're going to let you go. Thank you much. Appreciate it. All right. So, Door County, you have the Door County inspections report for the month in your packet. And we have a little bit of correspondence, which is the fire dues, which I mentioned, or I should say Amy mentioned. Our general transportation aids were also paid. If you hadn't seen the article in the Wisconsin Towns Association, they're actually going to increase our, now the word escapes me, or they're almost going to double it. Help me with that one, Amy. Shared revenue. Thank you, shared revenue. Too many things going through. And if that, from everything that I've read, it sounds like that's a done deal, and that's going to be a significant investment. They did shoot down the increase that they were talking about for road. That was typical. I mean, how somebody can change a whole thing with striking a letter is beyond me. But at any rate, leaves us with the announcements. So we have a communication and technology meeting on Wednesday, the 9th at 1. Is that the closed session?
It's going to be
So it's
it'll
really
be the analysis and all that.
okay. So it's really going to end up being a closed session.
Yeah.
So won't be open to the public, so we could probably not have it, but we'll have it on there. At any rate, Door County Fair, August 9th through the 13th. And as you heard earlier, the 40th Annual Valmy Threshery on August 18th through the 20th. Our next Board of Supervisors meeting is Monday, August 21st at 7 p.m.
And Dan, I'm gonna schedule a town park meeting next Thursday.
Alrighty.
6 p.m. One quick thing about the threshery, I don't know if people know this, they always have a certain tractor or a certain era that's like their lead-in for the year. This year, it's tractors that have been in families for over 40 years. So it's the 40th year threshery. The tractor has to be in your family for over 40 years to be like the showcase tractors.
Oh.
So I think it's gonna be a pretty neat year to go if anybody wants to go look at some tractors. And I've talked to a couple of guys out at Belgian Days that are gonna be there. And they're already talking about, I remember when my grandpa was running, it's gonna be a lot of storytelling. I think it'll be a really neat one. A lot of older guys sitting around by their tractors and telling stories, and maybe even some younger ones telling stories too. But I think it'd be a really neat year to go. It's 40th annual, they're gonna kind of live it up a little bit.
And I think our town clerk's son has a display at the threshery.
He loves his engines.
Little pile of hit and miss engines, which
He does.
which I always enjoy looking at, and he's more than willing to share with you how those beasts work. So go from there. All right, that wraps up tonight's meeting, so I think the next thing would be a motion to adjourn, and hearing that come from,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
shocking. Motion by Derek, second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned.
Turn those mics